Hey guys, Bazzy back here, and in today's video we are actually in College Football 25, and the point of today's video is I wanted to try out the recruiting process firsthand, and this is kind of going to act as a part 2 to the video that I put out last week regarding what changes EA NHL could make from college football. So originally I wasn't going to actually end up getting this game, but I forgot with the EA Play subscription or whatever it was, you get a free 10-hour trial of the game. So I ended up having a couple of free codes or whatever for Game Pass, which gives you EA Play, so I ended up getting College Football. Interesting to note here, the cloud multi-user, that's more or less College Football's version of GM Connected, so it is in this year's game. Hopefully we can see that in NHL. Again, we'll have to see in a couple months' time here. Continue on here, just advance through everything. So I want to use a very, very good school here just because I really don't know what I'm doing, if I'm going to be honest. So I want to make it as easy as possible to recruit players. So first 5-star school, there we go, Alabama. We will take them. And I do just want to note that I don't know at all really what I'm doing here. I'm just totally messing around in this. I've watched a couple of like 5-10 minute videos on recruiting and everything like that, so I have very, very limited experience with this whole process, so we'll go through it together here and see how we do. So let's jump into it here. We have our recruiting board, so I'm assuming, yeah, let's go to our prospect list and we can see everyone available. So I like that first off it tells you the need if your team needs that player. Also you have the interest in your team, so it looks like we're first on a lot of lists, a lot of second and thirds as well. Also just shows where they're from, the pipeline. You also see the deal breaker down there, so some players will have that where your team has to make a certain condition. Going to quarterbacks here, let's just start with that. I think probably let's just try and get the best quarterback possible. Try and get a 5-star player here if possible. I'm assuming that's going to be pretty tough, but we are a good school, so should have the advantage there. So let's just send out a decent amount of players here. We'll get them on our list, and then we can, talk to them and start trying to convince them. So quarterbacks were good. Let's go on to a wide receiver. Need some people to throw the ball to. And also, I just kind of want to note here, I'm going to go through this pretty quickly here. I'm not going to do like the full 35 players that you can, scout and try and convince to join your team. We're going to keep it, somewhat limited. We'll go definitely less than 10. But I also do kind of want to show the process as a whole and just kind of see how long it takes and see how easy or hard it is to actually convince these players. So just go back to any here. Let's try and get another couple 4 or 5-star players, as I don't know actually how many of these we're going to be able to land, so let's get just a decent amount just in case. That should be good. Now let's go and start scouting these players. One thing I did see from the video that I've been watching kind of just about recruiting is once you scout them, if they're good and you want to keep them, definitely offer them the scholarship right away. Kind of just gives your school a little bit of an advantage. Let's continue on the next player. And there you go, actually we have our first bust. So not that the player is going to be horrible, but he's only 4-star, and that means that I don't believe he can be 4-star. He has to be lower than that. So we're just going to release him for now. So yeah, there is gems and busts in this game, which is pretty interesting. So let's just continue scouting here, and there we go, we have a gem. Then offer him the scholarship right away. But, honestly, I think like a system like this could, somewhat work in NHL. Obviously, scouting is different. I like what we have for scouting now. I don't think I would change that at all as, oh, we actually got to commit right away. I didn't even know that was possible. That's pretty cool. But just everything in this system here that we're going to see going through, like someone signing with you right away, this Woodhead guy. Maybe that's on, July 1st, you get to the mini game. If you offer somebody, let's just say, a crazy amount of money, way over what they're asking, and you meet, all the interests that that player may or may not have, then yeah, they'll accept right away. But if maybe you don't, maybe you offer them comparable money to another team, maybe you don't have all their interests, maybe you're not like proximity close to home, whatever it may be. Maybe then it goes on, a couple days or a couple hours, and we could have, like what I've been saying this whole time, introducing some kind of, new free agent frenzy mini game. I've had this idea, I've been bringing it up now for, I think, at least 2 years now, year and a half, whatever it is. So I really like the system here with college football. I think there's, just a ton of potential for it to be adapted. But yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see what happens in future games. But it is cool to see that, an EA company is putting out, a very solid game, especially when it comes to franchise mode. We'll have to see if year on year they continue to build on this. That's always going to be a question. But for a first outing, all the reception it's just been, slam dunk out of the park. But, here, let's continue on with the sim. We'll go up a week here, see if we can get any updates on our players now. I don't think anyone's going to sign with us here for a little bit. So now you can see that since we've done the scouting and we've offered them a contract, we can start doing the action items. So I think for a lot of these guys, I'm just going to do the best option possible. You see all these things cost resources, and it's, in hours. So for a lot of these players, since they are better players, I'm just going to send the house to them. That is the best option we currently have available. We'll take up all of the current time that we have available. As in this, you only have 50 hours that you can spend per player per week. And since we are like a really good school, we have 1,000 hours that we can spend on everybody. So with this limited amount of players, we're not going to have any issues with resources or whatever. But if you're going and doing this like the proper way, you're going and you're doing 35 players and you're trying to all get really good players, then you're definitely going to have to manage your resources, a little bit better. So let's just continue on here. We almost got everyone done. We'll just continue to send the house. Some of the 4-star guys, you'll see there that I didn't do the full option, so we'll kind of see the difference between that, see how far we can get up on their top teams rankings list or whatever it is. So simming ahead a week now, you'll see that teams or players are starting to kind of narrow down the teams that they're wanting to go to, as there are a lot of top 8s now. And, I'm pretty sure it's once you get down to the top 5 teams that a player wants to go to, that's when you can start scheduling, trips for players, bringing them in, giving them tours, and everything like that. I don't think that's at top 8. I think that's at top 5 or top 3. So, we're good. Let's just continue on. We'll go another week here, see if we can kind of narrow down some of these players. And yeah, there we go. We have a top 5 now. That's for our tight end. Quarterbacks down to top 8 as well. So I don't think there's going to be anything too much we have to do. We'll check it here quickly, of course, as yeah, we can't schedule a visit just yet. And yeah, we still are using all our resources on them, so we can't really do anything else there. But, I do want to find that player. Actually, I don't remember who it was. Oh, it's this tight end guy, I think. But, we're way in the lead for him. When it comes to him committing, I don't think we need to really spend the resources right now. So, continue on here. Try and narrow down this list even further here. Yeah, there you go. Now you're starting to see more top 5 players. I think a couple of those guys were 5-star potential as well, as we get a defensive player of the week. Let's see here. So going back to the recruiting tab, our quarterback looks like he's almost ready to commit, which is awesome. But who were those other players? Yeah, there you go. So now we can go and schedule a visit with one of our wide receivers. So let's just do the Georgia game, and then I think we want to be highlighting the things that, the best part of our school and the things that they have the most interest in. I think I'm pretty sure that's how it all works. So, we'll do this guy the same game. We'll bring them in together. He wants to have the pro potential, so we'll highlight that. Our school obviously being stronger when it comes to that. Same thing here. Oh, here's the tight end guy. So, we'll just bring him in as well for that Georgia game. Obviously, we have the guy that's already committed, and these guys aren't ready to be brought in just yet, as they're still narrowing down their list of teams. But yeah, I don't really know how long it's going to take for some of these guys to start committing to us, if I'm being honest. It looks like we're narrowing down some of the players, which is good. But yeah, I don't know how long it actually takes for them to, finally accept. We're basically simming week to week here. as we get another defensive player of the week. Continue on here. And another one of those, interesting. But you know how we're simming week to week? I think this could just be, simming hour to hour on July 1st. I think a similar system like that could work pretty good. As you know, each hour the player is, narrowing down their list of teams, whatever it may be. And then we can finally figure out, maybe closer to 12 noon where a lot of these players are signing. And then obviously not everyone's going to sign all on July 1st, which when it comes to recruiting here, not everyone's going to be recruited in here by the end of the season. Obviously worse off players will remain on the board. So we have a couple more guys narrowing down their decision. Don't think, is there anything too much we have to do here? Can we send out any more visits at this point? As with the quarterback, we've dropped a little bit, which is not great, but now we actually can, bring him in. So let's schedule a visit with him. We will, give him the brand exposure that he apparently does want to see. When it comes to this guy, we're good. We're good there as well. I think a lot of these guys are fine. Oh, this guy, Lamar, we can also bring him in. What do we want to give him? Championship contender? That's going to be a pretty strong motivator to try and get someone to play with you. Let's give this guy the pro potential, as he does have an interest in that, and our school is very prominent at that. Another 5-star player that hopefully we can bring in. And this last guy, let's just give him coaching prestige. Again, it's important to him, and our school does offer it, so that should be fine. Simulate up another week here and see what our reports are saying, and if we can finally start getting some recruits. And there we go. We got a 4-star wide receiver. That's awesome to see, as well as we got the tight end, another 4-star player committing to Alabama. And it looks like, one more guy is down to his top 3 final teams. But I've also heard, which is really cool, is once a player commits, they can actually decommit if your team, just falls off, whatever. Obviously, like a really good school like that, they're probably not going to end up falling off, but it is a cool option to see that they can pull that commitment, as it does look like we did unfortunately miss out on one of our receivers, a 5-star wide receiver going to Ohio State. Outside of that, it looks like we're in a pretty good position. But what is nice is once you've already, got your first group of players that you've already tried to make offers on, you can go back to the list, and there's still quite a few players here that obviously haven't committed to anybody. You can see the offers for each team. Obviously, you might be a little bit behind in the process, which does make sense. You haven't been talking to this player at all to this point, but it doesn't mean you still can't try and land them. So let's just continue on here. We'll scout this guy. Oh, and he's a bust. So honestly, I'm just gonna, cut him from the list. Waste of resources, but we have a ton. And this guy looks like he's actually all right. So we will offer him a scholarship. But, let's continue on here. Let's see if we can get some of those bigger guys to commit here. So we're on week 6. I think we have a couple of our week 7s as when we have guys that are scheduled to at least come and visit our school. So maybe next week we can start getting some decisions from some of these players. We'll have to see. So no new recruits have accepted just of yet. But, quarterback there looks like he's in a pretty good state. Looks like we're leading on everyone except for that new guy, which we just obviously started showing some interest in. So we'll start putting some resources into him and see if we can convince him to try and leapfrog some of those other teams. But, outside of that, I think we're all set up here. Let's go to week 7 and see if we can start getting some of those answers on the bigger guys. So going ahead here, let's see what we have. And there we go. The 5-star quarterback does commit to Alabama. That's awesome to see. So that would be like the big fish in free agency right there. Same with another 5-star player committing to us. That's awesome. So right there, getting 2 very, very good players. And I can imagine this would be way, way more difficult if you were only like a 1-star school or anything like that. But we are, Alabama. We're going to have a pretty big advantage over other programs just like that. And then also it's interesting to note at the end of the season you have your transfer portal for players that, may want to leave whatever team they're currently on. They will enter in there. And then also here you can just see the different breakdown of your school. Like this would be like awesome to see in NHL and see some of these things actually factor into a player's decision to sign with you. Again, it could be just an example with the Leafs. You're the huge media market team, you're going to get all the brand exposure in the world, but maybe the media comes into question. Maybe like privacy of living, I don't know, something like that. And you'd get a lower rating for that. Or maybe like a rebuilding team like Chicago, obviously there you're going to be guaranteed the playing time. So there's all those different selling factors and stuff that I really would love to see, get added into contracts. Will we ever actually see it? I don't know. But, seeing it in college football does actually give me a little bit of hope, but I don't know, you have to be cautious when thinking about all this stuff as it is very, very easy to get disappointed. But, I think overall that's going to do it for today's video. I really just wanted to go through the recruiting process myself. I know I made the breakdown on it last week just based on the trailer, but, there's only so much you can really tell from the trailer itself. It's always nice to get your hands on the game and then, kind of mess around with it before you can, really give your opinion on, a certain feature or whatever. But I think they did a really good job here. Again, I can only imagine that in future years it's going to be expanded. There's going to be even more options, more different reasons for signing with teams and everything like that. But, we'll have to see what they do in future years and see if that's something that NHL can, ever try and implement in their games. On a side note, I might make one more video on college football just around the team builder. It is kind of broken right now. I can't get onto the website and it won't load anything, but if that ever does end up getting patched, I'm probably going to do a video taking a look at the team builder and how that could be improved upon in NHL as well. But overall, that will do it for today's video. I'll see you all in the next one.